President Trump has followed through on his threat to strip the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan, igniting a firestorm of criticism that he was trying to distract from his own political problems and silence his critics.
It's an unprecedented move. President Trump revoking the clearance of one of his fiercest critics, former CIA Director John Brennan, and reviewing clearances for 9 other current and former intelligence community officials, all who have been critical of him.
I've seen this type of behavior and actions on the part of foreign tyrants. I never, ever thought that I would see it here in the United States.
The career intelligence official reacting on MSNBC. The White House says it's about Brennan's, quote, erratic behavior and not about settling scores.
Mr. Brennan's line and recent conduct, characterized by increasingly frenzied commentary, is wholly inconsistent with access to the nation's most closely held secrets.
But in a new interview with the Wall Street Journal, President Trump does make a connection to the Russia investigation, saying, "I call it the rigged witch hunt. It is a sham, and these people led it." Adding, "So I think it's something that had to be done." Brennan, again on MSNBC.
If security clearances are now going to become a political tool in the hands of individuals such as Mr. Trump, that, I think, will send a very, very chilling message to individuals in the government.
Now the others on the president's list.
James Clapper, James Comey, Michael
Waiting to
Hayden,
see if they'll
Sally
also
Yates,
lose their
Susan
clearance.
Rice, Andrew McCabe.
Brennan also wrote a scathing op-ed that was published in the New York Times today. It reads in part, quote, Mr. Trump has clearly become more desperate to protect himself and those close to him, which is why he made the politically motivated decision to revoke my security clearance in an attempt to scare into silence others who might dare to challenge him. Now more than ever, it is critically important that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and his team of investigators be allowed to complete their work without interference from Mr. Trump or anyone else so that all Americans can get the answers they so rightly deserve. When Trump threatened to do this several weeks ago, many people thought he wouldn't go through with it. Among them, House Speaker Paul Ryan.
The president has said that he wants to revoke security clearances from some former national security officials who still hold them and who have made political remarks. Is it dangerous to go down that road?
I think he's trolling people, honestly.
All right, guys, there's a lot about this that bothers me, more than I thought it would initially. First of all, Trump is now saying he did this because Brennan, in his mind, helped start the Russia investigation, and it's another get even for the Russia investigation, which is the exact echo of what he told Lester Holt about firing James Comey. He's attacking the people involved in the investigation, either present or past, against him. This feels like obstruction of justice to me.
Well, I'm not
Attorney?
sure. I think you're wrong about that, but I
Thank
think
you.
you're right about to be concerned about this. This is worse even than I think you've described it. There is a process for revoking security clearances.
That's right.
State Department of Defense, Department of State, they didn't do that. This was an order of the president himself singling out one individual because the comments that were made were described as frenzied. I don't know that that has historically been a grounds for, and if it is, his own security clearance ought to be revoked.
But if he's saying, Bill, to the Wall Street Journal, I killed Brennan's security clearance because of the Russia investigation, to me that makes it a heck of a lot more credible when he told Lester Holt that he fired Comey because of the Russia investigation.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have said that, I would imagine legally. Richard's the attorney, he could speak to that more than I can. I was exactly what I was going to say, as Richard said. There is a process for this. People can have their security clearances revoked, but you have to go through the intelligence agency, there's a process there. To have the chief executive do it unilaterally is a dangerous precedent, A. B, it's absolutely chilling. It stinks. It looks really bad. The other thing is that Brennan brings a lot to the table. He's an expert on Pakistan, a lot of things. They're valuable to the government, and that's
There's been a tendency to run around with your hair on fire every time he says something stupid or bad or offensive. And I've tried to resist that. This sort of crosses a line, and you wonder at what extent and at what time will there'll be a straw that breaks the camel's back with respect to the public reaction to this kind of stuff. There are Trumpites to whom nothing, he could, as he himself said, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and it won't matter. But there must be some marginal group of people who, when they look at this, go, this is not the America we want to see.
Next, Paul Ryan, couple of weeks ago when this first started bubbling up to the news. He got asked, you heard him get asked the question in the piece that we ran. And he said, I think the president's trolling people. I mean, Ryan's gotten the question since day one about the Mueller investigation and the need to protect the Mueller investigation. And the answer has been, I don't think we need to do that because I don't think the president's going to take any action against Mueller. Clearly, he doesn't seem to be able to read the tea leaves when it comes to what the president's doing or not doing, or what he's capable of doing or not capable of doing. To me, this is another argument that the House needs to protect the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, I thought watching Paul Ryan's reaction showed you just how unlikely he thought it would be that Trump would actually pull this.
But he did it.
But he did it. And you may be right in saying
Ryan
that,
had
that he's
fair
missing
warning,
it.
and it's like, it's not going to happen.
But it struck me as he genuinely thought, come on, you don't do that in this country. It doesn't work that way.
I'm not so sure the lesson here is protect Mueller. I think the lesson here may be that it's rational and appropriate to say at what point does something like this amount to an impeachable offense. That these are no longer crazy fringe questions, and that do you really want the President of the United States revoking security clearances because someone is a fierce critic? Do you really want the President of the United States leading cheers that say, lock her up? That's different than the individual. You can dislike what Brennan said. You can think what Hillary did was terrible.
Agreed.
But the notion of the President of the United States unilaterally leading us in that direction is becoming more and more troublesome.
The other thing that he was doing, he wasn't just stripping the security clearance from Brennan, he was stripping his credibility to a lot of people in the country. And it's, there are people that won't buy it, but there are a lot of people that will. And they'll say they had to take his security clearance away. It's classic Trump. I mean, that's how he acts. And it will happen to others if he's allowed to get away with it, and I think he will.
In our Newsbreaker segment, we have a disagreement.
I didn't realize
as to whether this will continue, and I think that's the real.
I think it's more likely than not going forward. But I want to go back to Paul Ryan because, again, there was a lot of this that just made me see red as this story was coming out. The fact that Ryan, again, got the question, had the opportunity, and was just like, this isn't going to happen.
He was wrong.
He's not gonna,
it happens.
No, but so what's to say he's not similarly wrong about something with much bigger stakes than John Brennan's security clearance?
It's not.
Yet there's no increased pressure for him to actually take action to protect Mueller.
Well, as I said before, I'd much rather view this in the terms of what the Congress should insist on as presidential behavior rather than protecting Mueller. You can't protect Mueller if the president really decides to get rid of him.
Brennan's comments that we read from the Times, Trump has clearly become more desperate to protect himself and those close to him, trying to scare people into silence who might dare challenge him. And he talks about Mueller again. You think Brennan's right? More right than wrong? You think Trump's running scared?
I mean, it is highly unusual to see somebody of Brennan's stature and a professional background to come out this strong. And so he certainly hit a nerve. And there are people on the right who can't stand him for that. There are other people on the right that say he's a true patriot because he's saying what he believes. I tend to be of that camp. It's he knows a lot. He has come right out on the Russia collusion thing and spoken maybe more forcefully than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He's come right out and questioned whether there's the president's compromised, et cetera. And the president clearly wants to shut him up. I mean, he wants to take him down.
There is a theory of human behavior that says what Trump has done is going to provoke more extreme views from people who wouldn't mind losing their security clearance in the short run for the credibility with some people of being a more forceful anti-Trump spokesman.
Right.
By the way, nobody else has lost their security clearance thus far, including
they're challenging mine.
Our disgraced former national security advisor.
Have you lost yours?
Not yet.
I'm told mine's under review.
I don't get to see very much.
There we go.
All right, up next, newspapers battle back. Hundreds of editorials nationwide explaining why the attacks by the president are dangerous to our democracy.